All right, everybody. So I story time for 1 second. As you guys know, for the first time, I watched Capital Punishment, and I was very enthralled by the actor that they brought in to play President Barack Obama because I just thought it was really fun that they did something like that. So, without further ado, as you could tell by the title, today we are bringing in Reggie Brown.
What's up, everybody?
Capital Punishment's own Reggie Brown.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. First of all, so what was it like playing Barack Obama on WWE television?
It was awesome, but I'm just going to go back maybe a couple weeks before Capital Punishment because I grew up like every other child in the 80s. Everyone was into WWF and wrestling our entire lives. We used to have the rings, the big rubber kind of wrestling dolls like that didn't really move much. They kind of just went like that, and you would just sit there for hours and, play around and mash them together and try to get them to fly off the turnbuckles and stuff. But a couple weeks prior to Capital Punishment, I made national headlines getting kicked off live on C-SPAN. They were broadcasting the Republican Leadership Conference in New Orleans. And prior to that, no one really knew about me outside of the corporate, comedy world. I was just doing these gigs that weren't really televised. Then all of a sudden I got invited on Real Time with Bill Maher. Then I was on Huckabee on Fox News. And then WWE came calling right after that. And that was kind of the setup for what brought me to WWE. I think it was just getting all this national, international attention. And then I popped up on their radar and they were just like, get this dude here, and we made it work. It was awesome.
And just to add context to our history with Capital Punishment, because we've been doing this show since September, I want to say.
Yeah,
that sounds right. And one of the first pay-per-views that Nick and I have ever spoken of, really, was 2011's Capital Punishment. Because I remember watching the show, and Nick was so fascinated, and I hope Nick's okay with me me saying this. Nick was so enthralled that they brought in someone to play Barack Obama for a pay-per-view based in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And I remember, I'm like, because he said that to me, he's like, "Oh yeah, they have a fake Barack Obama." It's like, what? And I'm like, "Oh yeah, they do." And ever since then, that might have been our second or third episode. Here we are, 20 plus weeks later. And you agreed to come on our show. So I was when he had told me, it's like, man, I contacted Reggie Brown. I'm like, oh my God, like that's Obama. And just looking at your career, you've been playing Obama for a long time now. Not even just on WWE television. So like, when did you realize like, hey, I can do a pretty good Obama?
People started telling me I looked like him when I was 21 years old. I'm 40 now. So this is long before anyone knew who he was because I'm from Chicago. And so the first time, I was 21 and this woman came into my restaurant. Actually, right before that, my brother told me, he's like, you look like this guy, Barack, who plays basketball at the East Bank Club, which is kind of like a wealthier sports complex club in Chicago. And then later that week, this woman told me I look like her professor. Google him. And that was the first time I heard it. And I was like, I don't look like that guy. He's too skinny. He's got big ears. And, and then as time went on and I started to, wear a suit to work, everyone who saw me on the street would be like, Obama. And I got free taxi rides. People were picking up drinks at the bar, picking up my tab. And everyone was so overwhelmingly positive. They were offering me, it was just so positive. They wanted me to take pictures with them and all that. And I just never felt that kind of energy, and it just felt like this crazy phenomenon that once someone told me I could make a living at it through the world of corporate comedy and all these huge companies, anywhere from Fortune 100, Fortune 500, whatever. Most companies have yearly conventions or meetings or something like that, and they bring in a keynote speaker or entertainment act or like a band and stuff. So I set my sights on that, and I started performing all over the world. Doing like a 30-minute comedy set as Obama, where Secret Service come in, escort you in, and everyone thinks I'm really him. And then you do customized material for whatever company. And then once people start seeing that, and every time there's a new president, because they're in the news every day in the US, they're always in international news anywhere. So everyone knows who the president of the United States is around the world. And there's always a want and a need for that. So thank God I set my sights on it. I developed the makeup, the impression and things. And then all these opportunities started to come my way, just like you guys. You thought of having me on and you reached out, you put in the work, and now I'm on. That's kind of the way things work. If you're open to the energy of things and knowing, you can't just think, oh, I want Reggie on. You reach out and put the work in, and then, you go from there. And that's kind of what I did on a different scale, and opened myself up to all the possibilities as Obama.
Like that's so crazy to me that
it's crazier to me, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And because I grew up in Northwest Indiana.
Okay.
So not too far from you. And like I was like, Obama was such a big figure, like not only as a senator and like all his work in the Chicago area, but once he became president, obviously that must, like, your doors and your phone must start blowing up the second you got the chance.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's what most people thought. Everyone's like, you're going to be on SNL, you're going to do this and that. But the way it works is so much slower. Like I was staying in somewhat like Fleabaggy motels, kind of doing like the stand-up sort of rise, and booking for a couple $100, having to drive to the things because we didn't have enough money to cover airfare. So you're driving.
It's like a wrestler.
Oh yeah, well I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you kind of build, and now my busiest year was when Trump first got elected. Even busier than Obama's 2 terms, and then now things kind of tapered off. I'm doing cameos and Zooms and stuff because I can't perform live as Obama, so I'm doing other things as myself, business wise. But the Obama gigs started to taper because of COVID. If their meetings and conventions aren't happening, and WWE is not, stacking arenas and stuff like that. I would love to be back on, though, if anyone from WWE is watching. I thought I was going to wrestle when they called me. I thought they're going to put me in against someone and I was going to get body slammed or whatever. But all the little skits that we were doing, it was just awesome because there's so much that goes into it. When I pulled in under the arena in there, I think they were at the convention center in DC. It was like a whole new city underground. I've never seen that expanse underground, of everything. All these wrestling tour buses, they had the full catering, like all that. And these giants are just walking around back there, and you're just brushing shoulders with these guys that you see on TV. And it was unbelievable. And yeah, it was one of the best experiences of my life. And it solidified me with a different fan base too, because people still remember me from it. Wrestling has loyal fans, and you guys are watching pay-per-view from 10 years ago. I don't even know how you guys found. Do you have to pay for that still, or is that free online somewhere?
The WWE Network was where I had found it. And the reason why I watched it was because R-Truth was facing against John Cena for the WWE Championship, and I'm like, well, this has to just be the most bizarre pay-per-view overall. Just if R-Truth, a guy who I'm a huge fan of, is fighting for the WWE Championship. Yeah. So tell us a little about the segments and stuff like that, especially the Spinaroonie. Was that always something that you wanted to do, or?
Of course. I mean, and this is the thing. When you get older, because you guys are still young, and just do as much as you possibly can, even if it's outside of your interests. Like my brothers didn't know they could run until I signed us all up for a 5K. And I was like, oh, don't worry, I'll meet you at the finish line. I'll just be there waiting when you're done. They both finished before me, and they weren't even breathing heavy, which meant they were there for like 5 minutes, and I finished in a good time. Lewis went on to break records that haven't been broken since the 80s at his high school. Jonathan went on to run cross country. They never ran like that before. They had no idea that their bodies had that potential, and we're all so full of some sort of potential. So my brother, he's like, I'm going to do this breakdancing class, like probably 23 years ago. And I was like, cool, I'll go with you, So we started working on a little groundwork, and I tried getting a little helicopter down, whatever. So I practiced that a lot at that age. And then when they're like, oh, could you do the Spinaroonie? I was thinking, I'm like, I hope to God I could do it when the cameras are rolling, because I was nailing it during rehearsal, and they brought it up to me. And then once it came, I it was a little sloppy, but it was just one of those things that who would know, God knows how many years later, that would come out in such a big fashion, or something I could show off. So just I think Jamie Foxx said in an interview before, like add all these tools to your toolbox while you can, because you never know when you're going to need to reach in and grab them out. And a lot of different things prepared me for that moment. And even when I got up and did my speech at the podium, with the big backdrop, I was so nervous because I thought I was just going to go out and do some of my jokes and my lines. And I get there and they hand me like this script. It's like this. And I'm thinking, I can't memorize this. There's so much going on around me. Vince McMahon walking in and out. And he's just like, oh, yeah. He's like, let's take a picture, and like all these different people wanting to take pictures with me, which is crazy. Like every celebrity that I've met when I'm in character freaks out and asks me to take a selfie. Like we did Barbershop 3 and Ice Cube's like, I'm sorry, man, can we take a selfie? I was like, Jesus Christ. Of course we can, but it's just crazy the way people act around like the president. And so I'm getting all nervous thinking I'm going to forget my lines. And then in the middle of it, every time I stopped, the audience kept doing that. What are they saying? It's like they all say the same thing at once.
Were they what chanting you?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh my God.
It was like every time I got to a stop, they'd say something and I was just like, like keep it going. And they just kept throwing me off. And I'm like, are they booing? Like, what are they doing? And so that was like, throwing the challenges at me. But then in the back, like those are just little interactions where like, okay, well now, Sergeant Slaughter is going to come out and do something. And now, he's going to come down here. You guys just, I don't know, interact and whatever. And I'm just like, these guys do it all the time and with each other. So I was just trying to figure out a way to fit in and have fun with it and try to do my best. So it's crazy, trying to keep the composure, but be professional, go with the flow and all that. But in the end, it was awesome, especially when we all ate dinner together. And these guys are just like, it's kind of like when you're going to a new school or something and there's different lunch tables and there's all these guys just sitting around eating there's everything. And I'm just like, sit over here, where do I go? But everything that day was an adventure and learning experience. And it was awesome. I'll never forget that.
And the one thing that sticks out to me, I mean, there's so many things you just said that I have so many questions on. But the one thing is that like you were one-on-one with Vince, or at least you were talking to Vince directly at some point.
Oh yeah. And
like, because typically he doesn't do that, at least not anymore. Like it takes a lot just to talk to Vince on, like, just from what we hear from wrestlers themselves. Let alone an actor coming in to do just a one-off thing with WWE, but he's portraying the president and Vince is over here asking you for pictures. Like, I'm assuming he shook your hand. Like, was Vince like as strong as he looks, or like just like, were you intimidated by him? Because obviously you said you watched wrestling, so you knew of Vince McMahon.
I knew it. Of course I knew, but at the point I met him, I don't know if he had some sort of injury. You could definitely tell that he was like, I don't know if it was his back or what, but he was kind of folded over a bit, and you could tell he was in some sort of pain, or discomfort. So I don't know exactly what was going on sports injury wise, because I'm out there, not professionally, but I golf, I surf, I do anything I possibly can to stay active, box or whatever. And then every now and then something stupid, especially at my age and especially at his age, the dumbest little thing can, like, it's not a joke. Like on these shows where they bend down to grab something and their back goes out, it's like, it's crazy. So I don't know what was going on, but the handshake was there, but everything else, it kind of seemed like we talked for a couple minutes and then he went into his limo and, took off. I'm pretty sure it was a limo, not like an SUV. So it's kind of like an old school kind of thing.
Oh my God. Like, and I mean, you said you're product of the 80s, at least we're watching 80s wrestling.
Yeah.
And like Sergeant Slaughter, it's a big deal.
Oh yeah. That was huge.
And I, every time, like if you Google like Barack Obama capital punishment, like you're going to find that picture with Slaughter. You're going to find that Spinner Rooney. Because I remember when we first found out you're going to come on the show, and I told some friends of mine, like, oh my God, guys, you would not believe who I'm going to talk to. And I sent them a photo and they're like, holy shit, like that's so weird. Like, it's like, yo, like, because there was the one time, and capital punishment hasn't happened again. Like, you were part of the one capital punishment show.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
and you got to interact with Booker T and Sergeant Slaughter, and that's must have been nuts. Not only like for work, like you're getting paid to do this.
Yeah. I'm
But
telling you.
oh my god.
It was like a dream, and sometimes I don't take it for granted. Like all the cool stuff I've done all over the world, it's brought me to 25 countries, and from like movies and commercials and all these different, videos that have gone viral and stuff. It's always awesome to experience these things, but be grateful for them. And there's times where I've gone home and just sit in the hotel bed and just think like, oh my God, go over what's happened. There's times actually I've cried. Like I've broke down and seriously have cried a couple times, just like I could not believe that just happened.
Yeah.
As a kid coming from, working class family on the south side of Chicago, to have this opportunity that's turned into so many more. And then thankfully to have been able to develop something, because people think, oh, you look like you got this handed to you. I don't look that much like him. I don't feel like at this point looked like when I was younger and skinnier, but now I walk around at like 195. I have a more athletic build. If I don't have I don't have his ears unless I glue them on, with now it's all the gray, but the makeup accentuated. There's so much work that goes in behind the scenes. And they always say like overnight success stories don't just happen overnight. Most times people have been, doing this for years, and then they just get discovered by society or the media or something. So to have my work recognized by people that I've respected for so long is such a crazy feeling, like Ice Cube asking me for a selfie, or Akon chased me out when I was on the Tonight Show. Him and Colby O'Donis, this old singer, they ran out the front building like, hey, before you go, can we take a picture together? And I'm just like, what is happening right now? So yeah, it's crazy. And I always tell everyone, especially in my speeches, in my keynotes called How I Became the President of the United States. And I go around and I still come out as him, but then I take off the makeup on stage and talk about my life and overcoming everything. But everyone is exceptionally good at least one thing. A lot of us, have different talents, and some are multi-talented in a lot of different ways, but you are given at least one thing that I think that each person is better at than almost everybody else, and this is something that I feel like I'm grateful to have had these skills to be able to create this character. And I'm glad that I've been able to be in the position. I don't want to sound like conceited, but I know what I can do when I'm in character. And I feel like all the work that I put in, I fool people around the world, no matter where I go. It doesn't matter what country, so focus and try new things, know what you're good at. And if you can make a career out of that, then you're set. And if you can't make your career out of that, then make it a hobby and don't ever lose that part of you, because you're going to need that, inspiration. You're going to need the thing you look forward to go and do. And if it can please and help other people, do it. I've done this for people on their deathbeds that wanted to talk to Obama, and their family calls me, and I'm just like, oh my God. If you want me to do it, I'll do it, and people come up to me saying, it's the best day of my life, when you got elected and all this. They're like 100-year-old Black woman when I was in Alabama on a booking, and she's just blessing me and kissing me and telling me she loves me. And I'm like, I love you too. Like I got to give them those moments for the other people. And if they find out one day down the line, then that's great. But if not, then at least I was able to give them that. So, find your talents, develop them as much as you can, because especially robots can replace so many jobs, but they can't replace a lot of things that we can do, So, all right, I'm done preaching. Next question.
No, that was awesome. Like
That was, yeah, seriously.
But
sorry, I talk too much sometimes.
Join the club. I mean, Nick and I, when we do these shows, we just go and we go and we go. And like it's the passion, man. Like obviously, like you may or may not be passionate about Barack Obama, but you're passionate about your craft. And you carry a lot of weight with you. Like, yeah, you may be embodying the 44th president of the United States, but like you're also like what you just said, like to some people you become him for a day, or for a few hours, and like that carries a lot of weight. And yet, for something as goofy as wrestling can be, it's like you were Barack Obama for a night to us in 2011, and I don't know, and like if I bought it back then, I'm like, is that like no, like, and I probably knew it wasn't, but at the same time, like you stuck out. Like when Nick had told me, like, hey, it's like I just watched Capital Punishment, and I'm so fascinated at this Obama guy. I'm like, oh my god, they did do Obama on that show, and I can't get out of my brain, and that was 6 months ago when we had talked about it, and like looking at your other work, like you've been all over Nick and I's childhood, sprinkled in,
Really?
like doing your stuff on Disney Channel as well.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like, and I'm like, oh my god, like that was him. Like that, like so. I'm just seeing what you have done, and like that is, I would have never have known that you would have not done like these bookings for like shows and stuff, but you've stepped in for people when they wanted to meet Obama.
Oh yeah.
And you're out here doing like that's incredible. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
really.
Thank you. Well,
That is.
now it's transferring over to virtually. You know, this so many people like when I'm doing my custom videos through my website, which I do prefer over Cameo because that app's kind of a nightmare. But still, the videos fool people still, you know, and especially like the elderly. I love it because, you know, they can't see as clear and, you know, whatever. So they all think that I'm him. So it's crazy how, you know, not being able to do it in person is kind of shifted in the virtual world, and it's still effective. For me, I've seen the power of like, they're hooked with emotionally, like the sight, they see that initially, then they freak out. Then emotionally, they're like, oh my God. And then all the cameras come out, and then they're like on a roller coaster. Is it him? No, it's not. Is it him? And then like start talking. Oh my God, it is him. Then I used to end doing the moonwalk in a little musical thing when I was done at my performances, and people would still. After I did the moonwalk, this woman followed me to the elevator. She waited after the show like 45 minutes until I came out of the back green room. And then she's like, Mr. President, please pass this legislation, blah, 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 whatever. And she like handed me a pamphlet. I'm like, I just did the moonwalk and told jokes for 30 minutes. And you think that, and sang to the audience, and you still think I'm president. So some of these people are awesome. I mean, that's why I work. And it's always surprising to me. Never a dull moment.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
And here we are talking about pro wrestling. That's like,
well, yeah. I mean, growing up, we had like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, obviously Hulk Hogan, but Macho Man Randy Savage was one of a kind. You know, all these guys, Jimmy's Superfly Jimmy Snuka. You guys know all these old school dudes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have those figures you're talking about.
Oh, the old rubber ones?
When he was younger, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're all in the basement right now. I definitely need to decorate with them a bit, but
Hillbilly Jim.
Hillbilly Jim. Oh, that was one of my favorites. I actually have a regular figure of Hillbilly Jim. So,
cool.
So growing up, so you mentioned Macho Man, who's definitely one of Chris Anthony Lopez's favorite wrestlers.
One of my favorites.
Wears the glasses every single show.
I felt like the glasses were inappropriate for the interview. I have them right behind me. I just felt they were inappropriate.
So who were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up?
Superfly Jimmy Snuka was all of our favorites. He just always seemed so cool and so different, you know. Razor Ramon too. I mean, you can't dislike him. You know, the attitude, the accent. God, the Bushwhackers were cool. When they used to come out and do their leg thing, and you know, then you start getting. The Undertaker, like that was more like grade school, I feel like. And who was his little hype man? Paul Bearer.
Yeah,
he was he's like the weird stuff he would do. He was awesome. We all used to make fun of him, and then like Stone Cold started coming out and all the newer age guys. But it was interesting, the guys way back in the day, and Mankind. And to see where it's at now. Like one of our boys out here, we have a group. We call ourselves, it's the Gotti, the Gentleman of the Year group, and all of us are friends first, but you know, we're kind of doing our own thing in different businesses. So the Miz was brought in, so he's a friend of ours. We do dinner like once a year with the Miz. He comes in, and he's a really cool dude too.
Yeah, that's he's actually from the city my family grew up in.
Cool.
So my uncle knows his dad and like sees him at restaurants and stuff like that. We could. But so thank you so much for being a part of our show.
You're welcome.
We are so grateful to have you.
Of course.
If you